They were on their honeymoon, and the bride said to the groom, I just can't forget the dream I had last night. I saw John, Paul, George, and Ringo in the churchyard playing bingo on the gravestones. This is how the groom replied. He said, be here now, be with me, look into my eyes, kiss me, make this a moment we will savor, and we'll put it aside for later. We are young, our lives begun, but it will not last forever. There'll be days we're not together, so be here now. They were in their middle years, pretty deep in their careers, and he called her from the plane in Amsterdam. He said, I just heard John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and that dusty old hit single on the music. It made me want to hold your hand. He said, be here now, be with me, look into my eyes, kiss me, make this a moment we will savor, and we'll put it aside for later. Though our hearts still feel this hunger, we won't get any younger. From the start, our days were numbered, so be here now. It was after visiting hours, and he'd rearranged the flowers, and she hadn't recognized him in a week. And the nurses heard him sing, hey, you gotta hide your love away. And she opened up her eyes and began to speak. She said, be here now, be with me, look into my eyes, kiss me. Every breath becomes a treasure. In my heart we're young forever. My race is nearly run. I no longer feel the sun, but I can face whatever comes. Just be here now. Though my race is nearly run, I no longer feel the sun, but I can face whatever comes. Just be here now. Just be here now.
Dan Wetzel, Kristen Grainger. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Been living in Salem, Oregon since 1988. I like Salem. Been here a long time, but have found lots of creative people to collaborate with and to inspire me. And I write song lyrics, but also songs and poems, and I have a blog called Delusions of Grainger, which is a humorous essay, and I also am a short story writer.
Great. Now, the two of you are married, right?
We are.
That's what we tell our parents.
And we met through music several years ago. We were both playing in two different bands, and our bands started to overlap and played a couple of shows together. And then I played on some recordings with Kristen's band, and then after their band disbanded, we started to play together and eventually formed a band and eventually fell in love and got music and
got music, got married.
Got married.
All that.
and made music.
That's right.
So the two of you then collaborate a lot on the music, right, that you write? And is that because you're a guitar player and a musician and you're more of a poet?
Well, I mean, I guess we've collaborated on a number of songs together, like Limbo. We wrote together. Dan definitely came up with the riff, and I put lyrics to it. And there are other songs that we've done that, but mostly I write them. The progression of the song, the lyrics to the song, and how I want it to, the vibe, how I want it to come off, how I want it to feel. And Dan's just really good at adapting that to a guitar or to a band. But I write them on the piano. I write them on the ukulele. I get a sense of what I want it to be, and then Dan is really good about making that, bringing that to life. So there's some things that we collaborate on from the beginning, but other songs that I have an idea in my mind, and I'm somehow able to convey it to Dan, and he's the one who can help arrange it so that it comes across the way I want it to.
1, 2, 3, 4. The poet sidled up to the carpenter at a party at the end of the world and said, if you need a rhyme before we run out of time, Mr. I am your girl. She offered her hand in solidarity, which she may have misunderstood. And the carpenter said, I can build us a bed, already bought the wood. The last one standing at midnight, remember where we put the key? 'Cause the elephant's out in the elephant house, and the elephant needs to go free. The sailor sitting next to the game show host, learning how to tie a noose. And he's hoping to mangle a love triangle, cut out the hypotenuse. The game show host is an atheist, living with a Latter-day Saint, in a castle that's built out of passion and guilt, covered with putty and paint. Well, the last one standing at midnight, remember where we put the key? 'Cause the elephant's out in the elephant house, and the elephant needs to go free. Well, it's hard to be an elephant's confidant, but you should if you get the chance. 'Cause they're the best kind of friend, a real friend to the end. That's the way it is with elephants. He doesn't want to know your password, he doesn't want to borrow your car, and he doesn't care if you're a millionaire or you're covered with feathers and tar. Well, the last one standing at midnight, remember where we put the key? 'Cause the elephant's out in the elephant house, and the elephant needs to go free. Well, the last one standing at midnight, remember where we put the key? 'Cause the elephant's out in the elephant house, and the elephant needs to go free.
So Dan, what is your influences as a musician?
Well, I grew up, started singing when I was very young. I was in a boy choir and then choirs throughout school, and didn't really play an instrument other than a little stint on the cornet when I was in grade school. And it was borrowed, and then I had to give it back because one of my cousins got old enough to play, so that came and went. But I kept singing, and as I was getting near the end of high school, I thought, I want to be able to sing other than choir, and I started to learn to play guitar. And so I was drawn to guitar players and singers that wrote and sang where I could hear them with just an acoustic guitar, because I thought that's something I can do. And it never dawned on me I could play electric or something back then. But I was drawn to these people like Don McLean and Bob Dylan, and even, I hate to say it, John Denver, who had these clear voices who were telling stories and playing acoustic guitar. And so I did a lot of listening to that. And then when I was in college, I had a job in Glacier Park where I worked at a hotel, and we had to have a day job, or in my case, a night job for the hotel. And then we also were an entertainer of some sort. Everybody that worked there was a college student. And so you were either a singer or a dancer or an actor or a musician. So I went there as a musician and then got a job as a bartender. But I was suddenly around all these people playing this thing called bluegrass. And it wasn't traditional bluegrass either, but it was banjo players and mandolin players and fiddle players. And it was instantly kind of addicting because it was so accessible and easy to play along. It wasn't really strange chords I'd never heard of because I was a beginner, but I could instantly play along on the guitar. And so that had a pretty big influence. And then I ended up moving to Montana to finish school, and then was around a lot of acoustic music. Got a job in a little mandolin shop building mandolins, so I was drawn to the mandolin after that and started to play that a lot. And just over time, I never was in a traditional bluegrass band, but I always loved the sounds of guitars and banjos and mandolins and fiddles when they were together acoustically. So that really drove what I heard. Even if I was playing folk rock music or folk music, I would hear those instruments in my head and want to learn them and bring them in.
When you're up and left town, dear, you broke more than my heart. A flat tire on the John, dear, and the Chevy won't start. You made off with our nest egg and our best hired hand. So I guess I'll start drinking till I can no longer stand. And when I'm under the table, I'll be over you. I got a lot of brown liquor for a heart that's so blue. With my friends Jack and Tanya to help me get through. When I'm under the table, I'll be over you. Well, there's some that's born pretty with nothing to hide, and there's some keep their beauty all on the inside. But you were made special, of that there's no doubt. You're pretty but ugly, both the inside and out. And when I'm under the table, I'll be over you. Between honor and cherish, looks like you're 0 for 2. Here's my friend Johnny Walker to help me get through. And when I'm under the table, there's fences need mending, and hay bales that need bucking, but you aren't here to tend them, 'cause you're out drinking and smoking. We never had Paris, we'll never have Rome, so just stay where you are, dear, and send that hired man home. And when I'm under the table, I'll be over you. Got a lot of brown liquor for a heart that's so blue. With my friends Jack and Daniel to help me get through. When I'm under the table, I'll be over you and that hired man too. When I'm under the table, I'll be over you.
You guys kind of describe yourself as bluegrass, kind of folky. Is that how you feel, or what you're thinking when you're actually writing the music?
Well, all of my songs, I think it's true of my poems as well, are observations. They're a moment. And sometimes the idea translates better to one genre than another. But I'd say it's mostly folk Americana is what we do. And then sometimes we use traditional bluegrass instruments to give it a bluegrass feel. So if you ever heard the song Twist in the Wind, if I played it with it was just a guitar and a voice, it would be a different sounding song than if you added mandolin, banjo, guitar, acoustic bass, and no percussion. That would make it a bluegrass song, and it translates nicely to that. We just happen to like bluegrass instruments, and so we often incorporate them. Sometimes people don't think of us as bluegrass. If they've listened to a lot of traditional bluegrass, they wouldn't necessarily say, True North, that's a bluegrass band. A lot of people think that if you have a banjo in the band, you're bluegrass, which is not the case.
You are the rock, you are the hard place, you are the slow burn and the quickest about face. Your kind of turbulence separates continents, but the garden of your sweet peace bears no resemblance. You are the prophet, you are the fool, you're the exception that always proves a rule. Your kind of insolence shatters my confidence, but the garden of your sweet peace bears no resemblance. So stitch my shadow to my heels, steer me clear of battlefields, point out road banana peels, I should be all right. You are the old growth, you are the axe, you are the truth that gets in the way of the cold hard facts. Your kind of soulfulness, it counters my woefulness, but the garden of your sweet peace, there's no loneliness. And I got a feeling I can't put a name to, like I've been walking in my sleep and I suddenly came to. We can play the cards we got, and you are the hard place. You are the rock. So stitch my shadow to my heels, steer me clear of battlefields, point out road banana peels, give me strength not to fight, and I will say with this guitar, I know what the trade-offs are, and I have wished on every star, so I should be all right. She shows up at the coffee shop with what's left of a dollar bill. She bums a smoke and tells a joke, orders up a cherry coke, winks at me and pops a pill. And she's in limbo, between stoned and a state of grace. She believes she's an incognito, she can vanish without a trace. She looks up from her empty cup to ask me if I have the time. It's after 4, she eyes the door, drops her car keys on the floor, makes her way to the 5 and dime. And she's in limbo, between stoned and a state of grace. She believes she's an incognito, she can vanish without a trace. And all the beauty that surrounds her, and all the light she radiates, it rubs off on those around her. It propagates. It propagates. And she's in limbo, between stoned and a state of grace.
So hey, you guys, how can people get a hold of you as far as a website?
We have a website. It's www.truenorthbluegrass.com. We didn't change that domain name yet, but truenorthbluegrass.com has all our contact information. All our CDs are available there.
Well, thank you guys. It was a real pleasure. I know you're good friends of the folks that provide the theater for the show.
Yes, thank you, Carol and Eric.
Yes, and so, but it was a real pleasure to have you. Great songs. Like I said, I was moved like those folks. I don't have a ukulele to give you, but but I was moved, and it was a real blessing to me. So, thank you guys very much.
Thank you for what
Thanks.
you're doing, Tom.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
My name is Doris Dean. I was born in 1917. I turned 90 years old today, or it could have been yesterday. I really couldn't say. My mother named me Doris Dean for a trick rider she had seen at some kind of old-time Wild West show. It was part circus, part rodeo. Don't have those anymore. That's something that I wish I'd seen. The brave and beautiful Doris Dean perform feats of courage and grace. Never break a sweat, every hair in place. Wish I could have learned to ride like that in a split skirt and a star-spangled cowboy hat, and maybe everything would have turned out differently for me. Doris Dean McConaughey. Farming beans out in Oregon got us through the Depression. Then the winter I turned 23. I married Robert McConaughey. He ran the cannery. 3 months later, maybe 4, Rob went off to fight the big war. Shot down on the Sea of Japan, or so said the telegram I got from Uncle Sam. That's something that I wish I'd seen. The brave and beautiful Doris Dean perform feats of courage and grace, and never break a sweat, big smile on her face. Wish I could have learned to ride like that in a satin shirt and a star-spangled cowboy hat, and maybe everything would have turned out differently for me. Doris Dean McConaughey. Sometimes I lie here thinking, and sometimes I just lie. Pretend that there's some greater plan. It's not my place to wonder why. Oh, but 90 years later, I must petition my Creator. Is this all there is, this hill of beans, for the lesser of two Doris Deans? 'Cause that's something that I wish I'd been, the brave and beautiful Doris Dean, who could look back with courage and grace and see my ordinary life was no disgrace. Sure, I could learn to ride like that, though I'd probably do without that cowboy hat. But still, maybe then I'd see it all differently. And me, Doris Dean McConaughey. Doris Dean McConaughey.